Good morning, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela, Dr. Chester. You know what I like to do on the show. I want to enlighten you. I want to inspire you. I want to empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today I am talking with author Shawnta Ball about her book, He Caught Your Tears. I think that is such a nice sounding book. It's like, I want to know more. So you know what I'm going to tell you to do. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Good morning, Shawnta. Thank you so much for joining me today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Thank you for having me.
I am really excited to talk to you about your book, but as I always do on every show, we have a little bit of time where we introduce our authors to perhaps the one or two people who are unfamiliar with your work. So before we talk about your book, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What makes Shawnta Shawnta?
I am a resident of Harford County in Maryland. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., where I attended public schools and graduated, and I am a federal employee, and I inspire to uplift others. I aspire to uplift others, and I have a passion for helping others to reach their potential and to believe in themselves, and just want to see people operating at their highest level.
I can definitely understand that. Shout out to our DC folks up there, our Northern Virginia folk. Absolutely, we are all on radio out there as well. So woohoo to that neck of the woods. We appreciate you tuning in. Needless to say, out there, friends and family out there. So hey y'all, hey, so glad that everyone is tuning in today. Now, you guys know that I love everyone from across this great globe of ours, but sometimes you just have to give an extra wave to the folks that you know. Now, with that being said, being an author, is that something that you always wanted to do, or did you find that it was just the next thing along your life path?
Honestly, being an author actually found me, and when I was about 6 years old, I received something in the mail, and it said to send them a story if I had anything exciting that I wanted to talk about or wanted to share. And at that time, I was 6 years old, and I actually wrote a letter back to this company and talked about I talked about some dolls that I had, and it had to be about 5 or 6 at the time. And that story, they actually responded back to my mom, and she didn't pursue it, neither did I. But of course, the reason why I say it found me, because as I got older, I started journaling, just trying to get through moments in life. And one day I was writing, this was my first book, and I just found myself realizing that what I was going through, I knew I wasn't the only one, and I felt like it could be a testimony, and that's exactly how this started in my adulthood. But I would actually say that it is a calling, and the Lord did allow me to write as a 6-year-old, and had a real company respond. And unfortunately, though, growing up and back in that had to be the early 70s, my mom had, worked, and she had my siblings also that she was taking care of. So I don't think she took it seriously, and we didn't look into it, but I just like to thank God, actually, because He brought it back around to me, and it is my calling.
You know, it's so interesting that you say that, because I don't think that when we're kids we view our parents a particular way. As we mature, of course, our view of them may change one way or the other. But once we ourselves become parents, or we are a very involved aunt or uncle, you know, or godmother or godfather, we see the gravity of what it means to actually be a parent. And especially, like you said, if you have siblings, it's like, wow, that was a lot that mom and dad were juggling. And to be able to give you enough space to be who you want it to be. But I love the other part of the statement that you made, is how God always brings what's for us to us, and it always comes back around to us. So I love that. I love that. I had another author say that. He said he tried to shake being an author for like 5 years. He said at the end of that 5 years, he was like, okay, God, fine. You know?
Absolutely. I can definitely relate to that. It's like it just chases you down.
Yes, that's kind of what he was saying too. So I can understand that. I love that. I love that. So the title of your book, He Caught Your Tears. I love that. I don't even know what the book is about. You know, being someone on the street or in the bookstore. But that title, He Caught Your Tears. I would stop and pick that book up. Can you tell me, how did you come about that title?
It just started with me crying a lot, and I really could not put my finger on what was making me. It wasn't like I was upset or anything. I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry, but I just had a lot of tears flowing all the time. I could be at home. I could be at work. I could be in public transportation. Just anywhere. Tears would just start flowing. So, and I thought about that scripture too, the Lord, how He catches our tears and He puts them in a bottle, and He knows each and every one and the meaning of them.
Oh my goodness. And isn't it wonderful to know that our God cares that much about us, that He knows so much about us? You know, thank you for sharing that you would have those weepy moments, because I remember back in the, I want to say, like the 70s or so, early 70s, that women would say, you know, I feel weepy all the time, and my doctor says that it's just in my head, and it's not just in your head. So I am, I am so glad that you are saying that, you know, hey, it happens, and it's okay, and that there is a conclusion to it. I love it. I love it. Now, did you find that the title came to, I'm sorry, let me move a little closer. Did you find that the title of the book came to you first, or did the title kind of develop out of your writing?
It actually developed out of my writing, and again, the scripture just stayed with me. And actually, I should say that the scripture is in Psalm 56, verse 8, and I just know that that word is there and is there for a reason, and the Lord just kept bringing that to me, that He sees me, He knows me, He knows what's going on, and He is catching my tears every week, and even in the silence when you can't say anything and you just can't even utter anything. That's exactly how I feel like, you know, it came to me that way. And with Him, He's the Father, so He's mending me at this point. So the subtitle is The Father of Mended Hearts. So that's how it came about, as I was writing and just feeling His love.
Oh, yeah, I love that. Just feeling the love. And it's so nice if we think about just in our physical world here, in our day-to-day, when we're going through something, when we have that someone that we can just kind of cry in front of them, or that they will just sit there and hold our hands or just give us that hug. And it's like, let it go. You know, and they're rubbing our back or patting us on the back, and it's like, it's okay, if it's right, let it out, let it go. And you feel so safe in that person's arms, you know, or with them being around you. And it is so amazing to be able to know that God is doing the same thing to us and just saying, that's right, let it out. Those are cleansing tears, because boy, am I about to take you to the next level. So I love that. Amen. Thank you for sharing. Now, you have your book in your hands. You've gone through the entire process of writing and choosing your cover and all of the editing and all that good stuff. It's gone to press. You are now waiting for the delivery. Ding dong, here's your book. It's in your hands. You're looking at it. How do you feel?
Wonderful. Feel excited. And it's like giving birth. And I did mention that I had a previous book before this one, and that particular book didn't go over so well. So this coming to fruition and actually getting published and getting some notoriety, I really felt like that it was a rebirth and another chance. And there's a name also in the Bible, in the book of Acts, Gamaliel, which means that there was an inclination that a child was lost prior to this one being born. And it means that God rewards. So I really feel like, you know, even though that first book is not at a loss, it's just temporarily in part, and the Lord is going to revive it. But even in the midst of that, He allowed this other book to be born and birthed through my tears.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. You know, there are so many cultures that you name a child according to a particular something that is going on. I know that many times here in the United States, we're not looking to name our second son the name that means second son. We choose, you know, the name that we like the best, you know, and it sounds a little bit differently. But I love how when we look into scripture, people have a name, even if they may have been born with a particular name, but they change a name, or a name is explained to us because it has a purpose. And I love that. It's like, oh, it is coming back. Be prepared. I love that. Well, it is almost time for us to go to break, but before we do, Shawnta, if you could please remind everyone, what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And of course, how can we stay in contact with you?
Okay, the title of my book is He Caught Your Tears, The Father of Mended Hearts, and you can get a copy at Amazon.com and also my publisher, iUniverse.com, and that's like an iPhone or iPad. It's iUniverse.com, and also at Barnes and Noble. And at this time, that is where I will leave it.
Gotcha. Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Chester. My guest today is author Shawnta Ball, and we are talking about her book, He Caught Your Tears. I know, such a beautiful, beautiful title. I love it. Now, Shawnta, one of the things before I really start asking about your book, I want to give you an opportunity, if you will, to tell our listeners, is there a main character in the book? How did you choose to share your stories without giving it all away, of course, but how did you choose to share your story, this experience, everything that you were feeling in your book?
I felt like when I really felt the Lord pulling me and drawing me to Him, I sat in the quietness And then all of a sudden I can feel just the comfort of God. And I just really cried at that moment. But then I grabbed some paper and a pen, and it just became cathartic to me. And I just started writing. So honestly, the Father, he is the main character. And it's no coincidence that I'm having an issue with my father. But I don't even realize that I'm having this issue. So just the fact that God would draw me to himself and bring this thing to my attention, because if you don't know something, how can you know? And it was just God who drew me to himself. And then I went into my room and I sat in a chair and I just put my head in my arms and wept. And the Lord comforted me.
And you bring up something that I think that a lot of people can relate to, and that is a parent issue, a mother issue, a father issue, a mama issue, a daddy issue. People say it different ways, but more commonly we hear it as a mama issue and a daddy issue, right? So even though you may be a little more proper and call your parents mother and father, but we call them mama issues and daddy issues. With that being said, there are a lot of people dealing with that for their particular reason. When I hear you say that you didn't realize that you were even going through this daddy issue, at what point did you realize, oh my goodness, this is happening and this is what I need to do?
It was almost as if after I wrote the book and started writing out my feelings and addressing those things that I never did address. I was kind of the person who just, you hold up everyone else, you make sure everybody else is okay. And I really felt like I had grieved my father's death, because even at the end, visiting him in the hospital and going back and forth, I felt like, we were okay. We had made amends, but within me, that little girl that grew up expecting something, looking forward to it, but then it was just snatched away. Looking back now, it's like I just chalked it up and moved on. I mean, I said a few things, but I was 13 when my father literally, when the covers were pulled from him. Just when the Lord allowed things to be uncovered, I was 13. So at that point, I was thinking, oh, all of my siblings are older, they're teenagers, they think they're grown. I'm about to get spoiled. And oh my goodness, it was snatched right out from under me. And that was a disappointment. And at 13, you really don't know all that it's doing to the marriage. You don't know, like, the talk around the town. You just don't know all of those things. So to be able to, at that time, I was in my 30s, I believe, my late 30s or early 40s. But the Lord still knew within me I had not really dealt with that, and I had an issue. And it was connected to so many other things. It's like so many things could be affected by this if I don't address it. But again, God, with all his wisdom, let me know there's an issue. You don't even know it, but you need to deal with it. And he took me right through it. He took me right through it. And I believe he deals with me that way because I don't have a huge circle. People are so busy, and I just feel like it's not fair to them to unload such a heavy burden. So I really believe that's why the Lord calls me to himself, and I write.
Man, you really, you shared a nugget there because like you said, as a child, you don't think about all of the other things that the adults are going through. You just view it through
Mhm.
your kid lens. And as we get
Yeah.
older, we start to have, these epiphanies about how this one
Mhm.
act has affected everyone.
Oh my
You are
goodness. Yes.
so right.
I actually
And
remember. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say I remember from that time, from about 13 up until I was about 22, I just decided that I was going to go ahead and accept the fact that I looked like my father because as a kid growing up, that's what you hear a lot, and it makes you proud. And you see them smiling, and they're proud. And at about that age, 13, 14, I just didn't even want to be. I didn't want anybody to say I looked like him. And so about 22 years old, I remember it so well. We were going to a cookout at my mom's, and my father was there and everybody else was there. And I just said, I'm just going to go ahead and accept it. I know I look like him and I cannot shake it. And I'll just accept it and let that go. Cause I felt like, what's the point of that? You can't hide it.
I definitely understand that. And people used to say that about me as well. It's like, oh yeah, you're a member of the Buck family for sure. We can see it
Hmm.
all over you. And it's like, God bless it. Yes, it is. And even though we look like girls. But you can see your father's features in you, and it's like, Now, some cultures would say, daughters that look like their fathers, that's supposed to be a good sign, and boys that look like their mother's supposed to be a good sign. Something about, many, many blessings. And it's like, if that's what it
Hmm.
means, I'll take it.
Yep.
So absolutely, absolutely, I hear you with that. Now, for the person who says, you know what, I like what you're saying. I have some things that I'm working through, as well. Um, does it matter at what stage the potential reader, does it matter what stage they are in their healing process that they need to pick up a copy of your book? Like, should they be in the beginning stages, like they had the epiphany, oh my goodness, I have daddy issues
Hmm.
too? Or
Hmm.
should they have already kind of worked through it and they are more towards closure when they pick up a copy? Or it doesn't matter?
I honestly don't think it matters. I think that wherever you are, something in this book will find you. And I'm not the only author in this book. There are several other authors, and then there are some men of God, pastors, and teachers who are also giving advice. And so I think something is in this book for everyone. Even if I was 6 years old when I actually wrote a story, so we're able to comprehend. We may not know how to phrase it or put a finger on it, but if you read something and it resonates with you, then it has found you. And there is help. There's definitely help in this book. It was a challenge for me and some people that I invited to write in this book. It was too challenging for them. But I think that if a person
Mm-hmm.
reads this book, they can definitely gain something wherever they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remind people as well that you may not be going through this particular something, but if you know someone who's going through this particular
Hmm.
something, then you can always gift
Absolutely.
the book to them. So many times we think that the book has to be personal for us. Like, oh, I'm looking for a new book to read. Why not
Hmm.
give the gift of closure to someone else because they had an opportunity to read the book? And there may be something in your book because you went through this that you would say to help that person who's trying to get to their closure that friends
Hmm.
and family wouldn't know to say because they haven't gone through it, because they don't have that expression. So what a beautiful way of allowing someone else to have kind of that personal time with the book to be able to get to their closure. I love that. Now, for someone who says, yep, my hand is raised, I'm getting a copy, I'm ordering it off Amazon right now. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. But for someone who says, I don't know yet, I hear what you're saying, but I don't see the long-term effect. Can you address how does daddy issues affect us, and especially as women, how does it affect us later on in our lives? Now you're an adult woman, you're looking to get married, have children, build a life of your own. How does it manifest itself at that stage?
It manifests in some of the, I'll speak for me, in ways that had I known a lot of this stuff, it would have, I could have avoided a lot of headaches, heartaches, pitfalls, rabbit holes, and everything. Daddy issues are like that unresolved matter of the heart. And to me, there are some things that only a dad can do. There are some things that only a void that he can fill. Only a dad can fill those voids. And daddy issues it's like a missing chunk. It's like something is missing. You might not be able to put your hands on it, but something is missing. And I used to hear you can't miss what you've never had, but I totally reject and rebuke that statement, because you can miss what you never had. And so much so that you can lay down with men who mean you no good. You can lay down with somebody, you can choose a sex partner, and this is not the person that we should be connecting ourselves with. And I also think that if dads, if they were in our lives, it could give us that advice that we need for dating, or what should I look for, the do's and the don'ts. So it's a critical relationship that it is needed. And we know that God only gives us what we need. Now, can't nobody get here without a dad. Even daddies need a dad. So if we as children need them, when they were children, needed them. So it can become a generational curse, so to speak, because it's like all of these doors are left open because there's no shelter, because there's no security, because there's no head of the household. Dads are very crucial, critical relationships that we all need, and they need them too as a kid. So you can't grow up and be this kid. You're just a little kid in a grown person's body who you needed some advice about something somewhere along the line, because we don't do everything by knowledge. Sometimes it's by trial and error. It's by trial and error, and some things we can just avoid if we had that parenting, that person there to lead us, to guide us, to protect us.
Oh, I just love your answer, because boy, you gave us so much information and so much knowledge in that answer, and I don't want to lose a bit, because I want to make sure that someone heard you when you said, if you needed a dad when you were a little kid and your dad wasn't around, why don't you think that your kids need you around? We need to remember that. If you can't be, 1,000% there, be 1,000% there when you are there. Be it you live on, in another state, the other side of the world, you are, involuntary vacation, whatever it is. You are away from your children, but it doesn't mean that your children have to be away from you. So just make that. Oh boy, did you nail that? I love that. Thank you so much for that. And you're right. You do miss what you've never had when it comes to relationships. You absolutely miss that when it comes to your parents. Now, perhaps you don't miss a sports car that you've never had if you're still able to get to work in your family car. But when it comes to our human relationships, people who do not have a particular, a mother or father in their lives, later on they say, I didn't know because my mom wasn't around. I didn't know because my dad wasn't around. You are so right. You are so right. To those uncles out there, to those male cousins, if you have a family member that does not have their dad around, help them. Step up a little bit, because dads will say things to their daughters and say, you don't need that knucklehead around, and here's why. Let me tell you about his slickness. let me tell you.
Yes. We need some of those brothers, and we know that they're still out there. We know that there's still some decent, upright men who have high standards and know that protecting our girls and women are the first priority. And you know what, guys too can learn also how to treat a young lady when they have that positive male role model. And yes, it can be an uncle, big brother, or, it can even be a pastor or someone in church. And my whole thing is, if there was a young lady needing that type of role model, I would actually suggest that she speak with another female, someone that she knows and trusts, that can kind of point her into a good direction, because not all men are fuddy-duddy with a little bit of business and their own agenda with negative strings, but we want to protect them from that, So I would suggest that a young lady would reach out to an older female or a female that she can trust, a family friend that can, because, sometimes we know stuff as we get older, but it's still hush-hush to some. So just in another line of protection for young ladies and young guys, we just have to be open, because we can think that we're on to something good, but we might go and choose the wrong person, somebody with the wrong motive. So I would always kind of just connect with someone. I would at least let somebody know what's going on, acknowledge it, and kind of just ask around.
Alrighty, listeners, we need to take a very short break. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. Thank you so much for spending time with us here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am Dr. Angela Buckchester, but my guest today is Shawnta Ball, and I am so excited to be talking to her about her book, He Caught Your Tears. Now, if you are someone who is dealing with daddy issues, or you know someone who is dealing with daddy issues, it is not too late for you to continue to tune in and listen to the broadcast today, because boy, is she giving us some nuggets of wisdom. And one of the things that we were mentioning before we went to break is that we need someone in our lives to help us along the way when we are not only little kids, but when we're young adults as well, to plant those positive seeds and to give us that direction, because we do learn as we mature. And there's nothing wrong with passing on that wisdom to the next person. Now, the next question that I have for you, Shawnta, is, for so many people, they know that their father isn't around. They have accepted the fact that, unfortunately, their father isn't going to be around, be it that he has passed away, or he lives in another country, or perhaps his involuntary vacation is going to be for a lifetime. With that being said, what can someone do to make sure that they are their best? If they have an absent father, what are some things that they can do to help protect themselves? We kind of started the conversation, and we were saying, go to that older person, that older woman, and help them. They can help direct you to someone. Are there any other things that we can do?
Yes. I also think that there are other books, my book, of course, and then there are other books, too, that could help people, or I would say young girls and guys, or women and men, to identify, because still you may have acknowledged it and accepted that, your father is not there, but there's still something missing. And just maybe read a book. I would recommend a book if I can. Can I recommend another book?
Sure, if you wanna do that, sure.
I would like to, because it helped me. And it was the book that I came across in doing this research, and it's by Dr. Kevin Leman, and it's called The Dad She Needs You to Be. And that says that you might be there, but you're really not there, or you're just not there. You're on that vacation that you're never coming back. So I would say, pick up an article, read it, and again, there are some decent men, and I know that there are some decent men and trustworthy men, but we definitely need positive role models in the male community.
Don't let TV fool ya. Don't let it fool ya.
Absolutely.
There are still some very, very awesome men in this world, and they are stepping up and making it happen. So absolutely. I agree with you on that. Now, you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, so I want to ask you about your writing full circle. You mentioned that, of course, you first started writing when you were 6 years old, but if I heard you correctly, are there other books that you have written? Flip side of the coin, are there more books that you would like to write?
Yes, I have written another book, and that one I completed in the time frame of the government shutdown. I had actually started writing that book, and it's called 40 Days and 40 Nights with the Savior and the Minister of Music, Fred Hammond. I did that book, and I know that, again, the Lord called me unto himself to get away, because while the government was shut down, I was shut in, and I'm just grateful for the time that the Lord allowed me. The music and the ministry by Mr. Hammond helped me get through yet another, that was a crisis, another crisis in my life, so to speak. And I just thank God for that. I didn't need to go outside and spend money that wasn't coming in. I just was able to stay in the house and like I said, be shut in with the Lord. And then there are other books that I do have. I'm working on one right now, and that is Coming to the Table, which will be out in January 2021. And I'm also working on a series of books, which one is Expect the Manifestation, the other is A Living Epistle, and Memoirs of a Poet, which is that very first child that I birthed, and the Lord is going to revive it.
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad that you are writing more, and that you will have more expressions for our listeners to be able to put their hands on. There is nothing like grabbing a book and reading it that brings us not only closer to God, brings us to a sense of closure, and can help build up our self-esteem so that we can be the people that God has called us to be. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Shawnta, thank you so much for being on today and spending time not only with me but with our listeners today, and helping to enlighten, inspire, and empower them. I truly appreciate your doing that. One last time, if you would please, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Actually, I want to say thank you first, and it was an absolute honor to be here. Thank you for having me. The title of my book is He Caught Your Tears, The Father of Mended Hearts, and the best way to contact me is via Gmail, which is queenball2014@gmail.com.
I love it. Thank you again, Shawnta, for being on. Listeners, I want to say, of course, to you as well, thank you for tuning in and spending time with us here today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine his face upon you. May you receive his grace and his mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.